everybody, this is John for MTG Nexus coming at you with some more Boros Burn, continuing to try to get back into the swing of playing the deck on a consistent basis and the play patterns and such that go with that. As a friendly reminder, if you like lightning bolt based content, especially Burn, please consider subscribing to the channel or giving us a follow here on Twitch, as we aim to be the most informative modern Burn channel around. So tonight's list, only slightly differently from what we played last night. The main thing is that I cut the Luris from tonight's list for the 4th copy of Court Firewalker. Once again, I believe it was Brad Nelson, when talking about his testing process and whatnot, is every time he played a deck, he changed at least one card in it to always be rotating things, always be changing things ever so slightly, see how they flesh out. And while I'm not saying Luris is not correct to run in Burn, I just wanted to change one thing tonight, and we're going back to the 4th copy of Court Firewalker. Because one thing that's been consistent over the last couple leagues is we've run into E-Tron and we've run into some type of red deck. So, that said, we're going to see how that goes tonight. Beyond that, we're still running the 20 lands. It feels right, especially when you're on the higher curve in the Boros Burn list. One thing, whenever you're running Incinerator Burn and you're running the Seal of Fires, and you're not kind of running this glut of 4-mana spells, it's a little bit easier to get away with running the 19 lands than this particular build where you're running, only 16 1-drops, 17 2-drops. So it's important to keep in mind your curve considerations when deciding if you're running 19 or 20 lands. Also, having the 5 can lands gives you a little bit more flexibility with having the 20th land, so even if you flood out, you're more likely to draw gas. Beyond that, I can't think of a good consideration really other than the Smash the Smithereens and Paths to really improve the Eldrazi-Tron matchup outside of going to something like Blood Moon or Molten Rain, and those cards are significantly worse on the draw, and I'm not sure that they actually provide enough levity for something like Burn to take advantage of them. I think they're better, especially Blood Moon is better in the Mono Red Prowess-esque builds of things. Yeah. Another card we could consider running is a Braid, but I don't think we're really lacking for removal in the Boros lists, so I don't think that's necessarily a card that we have to consider going to. And the upside of the damage on Smash the Smithereens is quite nice. Beyond that, still testing out the relics over something like Rest in Peace, so we'll see how that plays. And that said, let's get rolling on the league, shall we? Played a Goblins League earlier off stream with a Turbo Muxus list, so that'll be coming out sometime this week on the YouTube channel. Once again, the reason why we're doing some legacy testing here and there is the Mana Traders series this month is Legacy. So, although I have some experience with the format, I think it's safe to say that I have more experience with Pioneer than I do with Legacy. So, it's kind of easier for me to adapt and run something like a Boros Burn or Dimir Inverter in Pioneer than it is to know what deck I would want to play in Legacy. Obviously, things like Burn and Prowess are not a huge part of the meta. They are decks that exist and can win, but there are certain matchups they just can't win. So, that said, on to match number 1. And here we go. We're on the play. 4-lander, can't keep. Now we have the 1-land problem. Don't think on the play we can keep a 1-lander. Going to 4, I guess. Sand isn't super exciting, but it's functional. One of the downsides sometimes of being disciplined with your mulligans is you go to 4 and you're just like, well, can't win the game. Especially if we get spell snared here. Nope, we're just getting path. Okay. Good evening, how are you? Can land here. Really doesn't help to draw this many lands whenever you're on mulligan to 4. I'm doing alright. It's been a busy day for a day off work. So glad we didn't batter skull, sure. Glad we didn't mulligan, or glad we didn't concede as soon as we mulliganed to 4. Doing this during their turn to turn off the ability to draw, or to leverage Force of Negation, I should say. Archmage's Charm. Seems like a hard one to win. Let's grab this. I'm gonna crack this now. Probably should have actually done it main phase, but whatever. In case we drew like a Bolt or a Lava Spike or something. It's gonna put Path on top, presumably. Alright, we know we have opponent has the Archmage's Charm, so this really doesn't matter. At least we found out they were on the Stoneforge Mystic build before we kind of conceded here. Definitely want the Skull Cracks. Probably want some amount of Smash to Smithereens, but not a ton. Batter Skull obviously being the main card that we want to focus on. Board out a couple copies of Searing Blaze and 2 copies of Rift Bolt. Mainly boarding out Rift Bolt against blue-white decks in the dark because of Teferi Time Raveler. Don't want to get stuck with cards that get stuck in limbo when they just like randomly drop it on turn 3. So It's unfortunate to be on the play and then mulligan to 4. It's possible we could have kept the first hand, but that did have 4 lands and no can land in it, so it really wasn't keepable. Second hand was 1 lander, the third land was 1 lander, and a bunch of 2-drop spells. So I think we had to go to 4. Just an unfortunate part of Magic sometimes is mulliganing. In certain decks, obviously mulligan better than others. Burn is a resource density deck, so it kind of yeah, well, for a long time, this hand isn't super exciting, but I think it's a keep. A lot of clunky 2-drop spells. For a while, Sideboard MTG was actually doing a lot of his, like, playing a lot of his decks and stuff, and then Eric just kind of disappeared. Like, he renamed the channel Meta Gaming, I think, and then just kind of, I don't know. Like, he had a lot of momentum and a lot of growth, and then all of a sudden he just, like, disappeared. I don't know if there were life issues or what was going on. We'll just bolt here. Inefficiency, get our cards out of our hand. If they drop Stoneforge onto, hopefully it's without. Now we're actually left with a weird spot, like where we don't really want to play our third land here. So the reason we don't want to play our third land, because it's not a fetch land, is Searing Blaze for playing this one instead of Boros Charm, partially because it's a bait, partially because so if they go for Timely, I think we can kill them in response. Let's play my bolt here. Ether Gust, Dovin's Veto. Alright, and Planet Scoops. So we can certainly win on the draw against Azorius Stoneblade, but it's by no means an easy task. I think we got a little bit lucky there that they stumbled on lanes a little bit, and we had a pretty decent, we had a decent curve out. One land mulligan again. Okay. This hand isn't exciting. I still think it's a keep, though. Put back the Sacred Foundry and just plan on fetching it. Keep our life total low. Well, it's mulliganing to 5, so maybe they'll be their turn to mulligan to 4. Nope. No such luck. It's a pretty good draw. Stoneforge Mystic. Hopefully they just slam it and don't have Force of Negation back up. Nope, no such luck. What decks has he been working on? Abyssius. Shark Typhoon. Good old Path Exile here. Boros Charm does whatever a Boros Charm does. Stuck on lands again. Well, hopefully you do not have a Force of Negation. Of course you do. Yep. Pass the turn. Going to have to crack this Sunbaked Canyon in response and hope it's a good one. So if some way our opponent doesn't have a counter spell and we rip a land, we can win the game, but well, I mean, we go for it here, right? I guess that was technically a premature concession because we can bolt them, put them to 3. No, because there's no combination of cards we can draw to win from there. Because we need Boros Charm plus Lightning Helix to resolve next turn. We can only draw 1 card. So, kind of frustrating there to lose to Blue-White Stoneblade. I don't think that's a particularly bad matchup, but that mulligan to get 4 game 1 really killed us. And then obviously them having Stoneforge plus Force of Negation kind of really punished us. Five lander, got a mulligan. No lander, got a mulligan. We keep back. Fetch land and Skullcrack. Pretty good 5-card hand overall, but we're about to get picked apart, so it really didn't matter. So either Jund or Red-Black Luris. Didn't I bottom a Skullcrack? Jund. Tarmogoyf would be a 3/4 right now. What's up, Last God? Well, Burn was never a resource grinding deck. The problem, like the Luris build is a little bit better at the grinding. The big problem with this list was because this list has no Luris in it. I cut the Luris for a 4th Firewalker. The problem is like Burn has always been punished for mulligans. Like that's one of the reasons why Burn players are. It is to a certain degree, but like if we were operating on, you know, a 7-card hand this game or a 7-card hand or even a 6-card hand against Stoneblade game 1, I think we easily win those games. So it's not really even necessarily about a grind as so much as just like but I'll agree, Burn doesn't particularly grind all that well. Yeah, but Klothys, if you've noticed, the Gruul decks have actually fallen off really badly. Like, they are doing terrible in this current meta. And I'm surprised they haven't tried to go to the Strip Mine lock yet. Oh, for Pete's sake. But But yeah, I'll definitely agree. It's not well positioned right now. It is definitely not a well positioned deck. So we're going to 5 and then 4. So we're probably dead next turn. Yep. Oh yeah, we're definitely dead next turn. Opponent's going to 5 themselves. I don't think there's any particular combination of draws that kills them from here. Oh yeah, the thing with Jun though is like these are both. See, unlike Eldrazi Tron, which I consider a terrible matchup for this kind of variant of Burn, I really do think Stoneblade and Helix is kind of relevant, but also at the same time kind of not. Its damage efficiency is pretty terrible. So I think I might board these out and board a Skullkraken. Like we do get into races with Jun, don't get me wrong, but we're more interested in preventing their life gain than we are necessarily in the extra utility that provides. Relic obviously primarily for Tarmogoyf and making Wrenn and 6 a little bit worse, as well as being a cycle. I think I like the looks of this. Yeah, like I agree on the surface that we're not built to grind, but the theory behind Burn has never been... Burn has never been a deck... Ugh. I think we keep this hand simply because it has so many creatures in it, and it's a one-lander even. But... the theory behind Burn has never been to grind. The theory behind Burn has always been to get your opponent dead while they still have resources. And they can't leverage. Oh, for Lord's sake. This isn't going to be... It's fine, but how do I put it nicely? There are better cards. Like the problem with Blaze in certain matchups, like Jund especially, is there are certain draws of Jund that can strand Blaze in your hand until it's either just a 1 damage spell or completely useless. So they're going to 10, back to 12, killing a Goblin Guide and taking a Boros Charm, and potentially draining here. But I guess going to 12 would be assuming they go 3 for 3. Well, if you can I get a land, please? Sweet. Fetching this, yes, our life total is a resource-ish in this matchup. But, long story short, again, get the cards out of our hand. This isn't Death Shadow where we have to do a dance with their life total. We just want to get them dead. Get the resources out of our hands so they can't discard them or Liliana them or any of that nonsense. But yeah, even if you... I forget where I talked about it, but I don't know if it was in... Hey, thanks Watermelon Head for the follow. I don't know if I talked about in last night's wrap-up or where I exactly discussed it, but I definitely said that Burn is less well-positioned than Prowess. I'm not making any moves here because I really don't want to get blown out by Weather the Storm. And if our opponent has to play... Yeah, they could still play Weather the Storm here. This is one of those kind of games of chicken that you have to play sometimes with decks that might bring in Weather the Storm. Like, I'm okay with leveraging 2 of our mana to keep 2 of our opponent's mana tied up. Because at some point they have to either... So you're saying you're dead. Gotcha. Thing is, it's unlikely that Jund is playing Weather the Storm, especially with Collective Brutality, but if you can play around something, play around it. Like here, if we had to play around something, we could spike first and then bolt in response to kill them if they had something. So. But yeah, in general, Burn is less well-positioned than Prowess at the moment because of the grind factor. You can certainly win with Burn, and I honestly think that the Incinerator builds are better positioned. In terms of certain matchups, I think Incinerator, although it makes your deck a little bit more inconsistent, is better positioned against decks like Eldrazi Tron, against Dredge, even against humans to a certain degree. Because if they can't Reflector Mage it, they're in a world of trouble. And also, the Incinerator builds also force you to lower your curve. So, it actually makes the deck more efficient and more capable of casting its spells. And you can more aggressively keep a 1-lander or a 2-lander with a bunch of reasonable spells. As opposed to one of the things with Boros, at least the traditional version like we're playing, is that it's more prone to mana inefficiency. It's less, obviously, it's less vulnerable to Chalice on 1 in particular, but it is vulnerable to getting cards stuck in your hand, not being able to leverage all your resources without 2, 3, or 4 lands. As far as the Searing Blaze argument, so what card in our deck is worse than Searing Blaze? Maybe Relic. Riftbolt and Skewer on average are more efficient. Eidolon's a good card in the matchup. Now, on the draw, you could argue maybe we're supposed to board out a couple Eidolons for Searing Blazes. That's an argument I could buy, but I'd probably get the 4th Skullcrack in here and cut an Eidolon. Throw that Shard Volley in. You're never going to let me live that down, are you, Next Surgeon? Yeah, I think I like it like this. I like bringing in Searing Blaze when I don't have access to Path to Exile. So, like, the Gruul Incinerator deck where... So this card doesn't have any creatures. Or hand doesn't have any creatures and has no way to play around Collective Brutality to speak of. But Jund is a deck that does deal itself some damage from its mana base. And creatures are a lot less reliable source of damage against Jund than a lot of other decks. Like Blue-White Control, you can almost guarantee your Goblin Guide or your Monastery Swiftspear are going to get in for some amount of damage, or they're going to path and ramp you. Whereas against Jund, it's like, well, okay, they probably were sitting on a path or a push or a bolt there, and now their first turn is fetch a tap land, which is fine. You know, that's less damage they'll take, but, you know, like now they're One Thunderous Wrath. Like, another card that's kind of debatable in these matchups is some people would say they don't want Path to Exile. Okay, I understand that. It's a lot of the same argument as 3 mana. They don't have Brutality, or they would have probably Brutality last turn, I think. But at the same time, I'm not punished for holding up Skullcrack here. Because I can always go Bolt, Bolt, untap, Skewer, Spike. So, I think we just pass here. All the Miracle and meme cards. I might do that one of these days. Yeah, just fire off both bolts here. Give them their choice of do they want to take Skullcrack or do they want to take the mana efficient spells. Oh, see, I could sooner get behind a 1 of Thunderous Wrath than I could Shard Volley. Like, this is one of the bad games for Jund, right? So, like, they don't have a threat on the board. They have Tarmogoyf, but they're sitting at, you know, basically dead if we draw a land here. And yeah, I know. O-face. Next surgeon. Yeah, so they're just dead here. So, I guess theoretically they could have Life Goes On, but I don't think I'm supposed to play around that. Like, that's just too cute. Alright, nice to steal one from Jund there. Especially since we lost game 1 in such garbage fashion. See, the thing... Okay. The problem with Shard Volley is Shard Volley takes 2 of your resources to deal bolts. A lot of times, if you're on a good burn draw, you only are operating on 2 or 3 lands. So you really don't want to cast Shard Volley until it's the last spell in your hand. And at that point, if you get counterspelled or if you get Ether Gusted, it feels really, really, really bad. Whereas, okay, I have Thunderous Wrath. It's a card that I don't want in my opening hand, but at any other point in the game, it's a Dome You for 5. This hand is pretty good. This is the first opening a hand I've had and went, yeah, that's pretty good. Going to fetch Sacred Founder here. So I could be conservative and get a basic mountain. Just certainly a possibility. And other people have brought up the you know... Okay, so we're in the red mirror, so I'm going to get punished for that. So, Prowess? Alright, so we're probably up against some type of Underworld Breach shenanigans. Well, Fire Blast is a different argument. Because Fire Blast is an alternative casting cost in Legacy, and it's a finisher for Burn. Okay, so Metallic Rebuke. Gotta be mindful of that. I think we suspend Rift Bolt. Cast Skewer here. I don't know that Wizards would ever allow Fire Blast in. Yeah, and Whetstone is one of the burn masters. You know, he's one of the people that, like, you know, you think of the people that are noted red deck experts. Mike Flores, Patrick Sullivan, Aaron Barrich, Sandy Dog. You know, you think of the people that, you know, you could pull resources from for playing red decks. Do they just cast? Nope. No Metallic Rebuke here. Well, Barrich has played a lot of Infect over her time, but now she plays more red decks than anything when she streams. Put them to 4. Okay, so we know they have Metallic Rebuke and Ether Spellbomb. Goblin Engineer. Okay. They're a Thopter Foundry deck? That's rough. It's going alright, War Dog. We're actually in a really rough spot if they have Thopter Foundry. Oh, and War Dog, I owe you an apology for not mentioning you in the list of people that have been around forever. We know this is getting rebuked. They can't allow this to resolve. And if they have the Foundry, we're pretty well dead here. So, yeah, I understand the concept of the one of being fine. I just... Okay, Goblin Engineer, so they're going to go grab Foundry, I guess? What an odd... Yeah. Oh, they were hiding the black. Okay. Well, I'm used to certain people getting, shall we say, easily ego bruised. So I've found myself... Thanks, War Dog. I do think we're dead, though. Yeah, our opponent bought just enough time to assemble the combo. Because basically each mana they have is a life gain, and we can't kill them here, so... Once again, the mana inefficiency of Boros is a thing sometimes. Definitely want the relics. They're not great against Thopter Sword, but they're okay. Probably want the smashes. They have a lot of like arbitrary things to blow up. Blazes are fine. I probably want to go down the Lightning Helixes first and foremost. And then... Skullcrock's a little tricky because the nature of their particular combo. Probably go down a couple Blazes. Because they're not always going to be using Goblin Engineer. Well, I ended up having to ban Space Marine because he was going off on another tirade, and there really wasn't any way to come back from it. So, without getting into a public pissing contest, that just really 4-lander, not worth it, even with Eidolon. 1-lander. I think since we're already on 6, I'm going to keep the 1-lander. It's not exciting. Game was 7, and they have Thopter Foundry. Oh joy! Next, reveal Sword of the Meek. Nope, Metallic Rebuke. Possibly even worse. So they are an Urza deck, which I'm not surprised. Well, I asked a couple people I trust their opinion about whether I should try to debate with him in the public forum or just be done with it. And the people I trust basically just said be done with it. Maybe maybe the fences can be mended later, but right now it just isn't. The problem with Relic is a good Thopter pilot can play around Relic. So, especially since we're mana strong. Yeah, and that's just the infinite combo, so... Because, like, okay, we activate Relic here, we just sack one of these other artifacts. This is a infinite combo for those of you that aren't aware. Basically what happens is when the sword comes back and equips to the Thopter that's made, they get to tap both the Thopter and the sword for 2 blue mana, sack the sword, so they're not only getting infinite life, they're also getting infinite mana. They can then infinitely activate Urza if they so choose. And what's up, Foz? Lurking like always, I see. It's not worth it to make it click. It's terrible content. We've lost game 1 anyway, so it's not like they can't make an arbitrary enough things to kill us, untap and kill us. Well, thank everybody for hanging out tonight, though. Greatly appreciate that, as I did get a much later start than I intended. Yeah, the problem, like, I understand where you're coming from, Watermelon Head, but at the same time, in matchups where you're going long, or are trying to avoid going long, you want to put the pressure on the board first, and then try to leverage your spells, especially when you're capped for mana. Thanks, Foz, appreciate that. I do apologize for taking so long to get your videos up. I didn't realize that you had sent a donation along with that. I thought that was just you sending decks. I apologize for that. And we're immediately playing humans. Seems good. This is one of those leagues that you're just like, okie dokie. We's in trouble. We's a bee. Well, at least they're only drawing another Noble Hierarch. So even if we bolted this one, it wouldn't do any good. Mantis Rider. Okay. Taking a hit for 4 here. Searing Blaze would be like our best draw on the deck right now. A land is definitely not our best draw. This hand is really awkward. I really don't know yet, Foz. I don't have a ton of experience with Legacy. I like the Allurin deck to a certain degree. I played a Turbo Muxus deck earlier today that was kind of fun. Burn's like a default deck for me, obviously, but I don't think it's particularly good in Legacy. Do I attack here in Boros Charm to trade with this Mantis Rider? Or do I just, like, try to race them with burn spells and probably get obliterated? I guess we're going to use this as a 2-for-1 removal spell. And just hope they block. Well, the problem is, I don't think we're winning a race. Like, burn spells versus creatures never wins the race. Opponent's wondering what we could be playing. Obviously, they are a... Oh, dear Lord. I am not attempting to play Legacy... That was like the best of all solutions here. I am not attempting to learn Legacy Storm. I have great respect. I watched Anurag Das and Bryant Cook do the... Is it Tess? Or was it... yeah, Tess. No. No, not trying to learn that deck this month. I don't want my brain to go kaboom! Reflector Mage or Meddling Mage? Yep. That's, human's gonna human. One land Belcher. I'm not that... Yeah, I understand the... Like, I've played... I've played some combo variants. Oh, for Lord's sake. If they name Boros Charm here, I'm done. Chooses Lightning Bolt. Okay. Breath Bolt. Okay. Breath Bolt can't be cast. High Tide. I think I would have to be high to play High Tide. Oh. Probably just using this as a chump blocker this turn, honestly. The problem with Four Horsemen, if I remember correctly, it actually glitches on Moto. Y'all ain't even right. And the other problem is, right, so from a content perspective, am I supposed to block here? I think I just take one hit here. That way if they want a hippopotamus for Christmas, they're going to have to... Hippopotamus will do. There is no hippopotamus. A hippopotamus. Okay, I'm fine with that exchange. Yeah, this is a race hand. Especially since two of the cards in their hand are Ether Vials. Yeah. I think we knew about the Noble Hierarch too, so. Oh, there's one more vial in hand. Still think that's for 4, which is no joke here. Because we're going to 8. And if they have Reflector Mage, we're dead? I guess technically not. Because they don't get the Exalted triggers. So that, as they say in the biz, is a pretty good one. No reason to attack here. Yeah, I saw that. I didn't watch the video yet, but a saffron olive concoction being packed by Mengu is interesting. So, like, the other thing with Legacy, and I'm not disparaging Legacy by any means, it doesn't really change the equation. Like, they're not going to... It's not getting through for any damage. So, potentially drawing a land off the top of their deck is not good. Especially when we know at this point we pretty much have to draw a burn spell to kill them. That isn't named Riftbolt. So what are the... Gonna be really bad if we got all that way and then, like, die with a combination of lands and Riftbolts. It would be appropriate, but it would really suck. Okay. Kitesail Freebidder? Hmm. All I can think of is one of those seals at a circus or something going, Need a gut shot. Need an incinerator is what I need. So bringing in the paths, the primary card that the humans brings in against us is Auriok Champion. And there are two ways to combat Auriok Champion, besides them not drawing it, of course, is Path to Exile, and then Skullcrack and attack in with our creatures. Eidolon is... You generally board out Eidolon against Vile decks for obvious reasons. And then Riftbolt, as we saw there, we generally want to suspend it, but it can get caught by a Meddling Mage, so it's kind of how you roll with things. So, but yeah. So in a vacuum, this hand should be really good against humans. And I think we have to keep it. Keeping the sand, but it's not good. Well, the problem is, like, the way our land situation is without a fetch land, we could easily get stuck without the ability to leverage it, especially if they go Vile turn 1 instead of a creature. No, then we're left with a dilemma of, do we play our... Okay, so they're playing a Noble Hierarch, which bails us out a little bit. We're drawing another land, which is good. Like, don't get me wrong, Blaze is a very good card in the matchup, but sometimes it can be awkward. And the best cards in Burn are, yeah, this is, yeah. Didn't want to path them until they play a creature this turn or at the end of the turn this turn. You do have to believe in top decks to a certain degree with Burn, but you also have to play certain things in certain manners. So I don't think we can hold on to Skullcrack here. I think they would have played another Auriok Champion if they had it this turn. They obviously don't. And they probably didn't have Phantasmal Image either. Gonna do this. Searing Blaze, the champion. Digivolve to champion. Digivolve to ultimate. Yes, Digimon reference for those of you that might have seen that show during the 2000s. Digimon, digital monsters, Digimon are the champions. Change into digital. You might have sorta kinda did that. No, I guess their order is fine. We've got nothing, friend. We've got nothing, friend. This is a this is a game we can win, but it does require non-creature, non-land spells. Boros Charm is a non-creature, non-land. Gotta believe in the heart of the cards. Digimon, digital monsters, Digimon are the champions. Sorry. I will stop now, or at least try, even though the song is stuck in my head. Yeah, get flagged for, what? Wrong show? I watch Pokemon too, but I watch a lot of Digimon as well. Swing for 6. That's the way. They kill us. Come on, deck. Don't do us dirty. Don't do us dirty. Correct. So do I play around Kitesail, another Kitesail freebooter, or Phantasmal Image, or do I play around Meddling Mage here? I think we go with the suspend option here. Oh, Heart of the Cards was not Digimon. Yes, I know Heart of the Cards was not Digimon. Heart of the Cards was Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! You don't want to path during our turn because you don't want to give the humans deck an extra mana. So, the ideal time would have been during their upkeep or draw step. So we're going to crack this looking for a Path or another burn spell that isn't Riftbolt. Path would also do it here. Lightning Helix does it. Okay. No, they have two basics. They run... Most human lists run a copy of Island and a copy of Plains. Sometimes they only run Plains, but yeah, I know, Fa. That's one of the things that I think people underestimate about Burn is, you know, as a deck, I could bring in Riftbolt over one of the Boros charms, potentially, because it interacts with creatures, but once again, we saw the problem with Riftbolt. Yeah, I agree. Draw step is the ideal time to do it against humans. There are other decks that you have to do it during your turn because of fear of counter spells or whatever. It's going to be great if we had lands. Obviously, we don't. Sand's okay. The problem with bottoming a land here is if they have Thalia specifically. But I don't think you can necessarily play around that. Plus we have a bolt to answer it if we absolutely have to. Noble Hierarch. Alright, so we're going to bolt the Noble. Not ideal. You prefer to get on the board before you start leveraging your burn spells, but necessary evil here. Especially if they kept a one-lander. Did we get that lucky? We did. Oh, greedy, greedy opponents. Which means their hand probably has a Core Firewalker. Or, not Core Firewalker, Warrior Champion in it. Land, please. I don't think we actually Helix that this turn. I think we Swift Spear, play the other Swift Spear. Actually, I should have played the other Swift Spear. That missed a point of damage. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us here. Holy crap. Did they just have all the 1-drops? Wow, and they're attacking. I admire your... Yeah, I understand the line. The problem is I played the second Swift Spear post-combat, which was the mistake. Greed is good. Give them the remote hope that they can, like, untap with their dude. See if they choose to block or not. Give them that option at least. course they choose not to, rightly so. We're just going to lightning heal your dude. Deal you 6, and worst case scenario is Thalia, I guess. I'm feeling more Auriok champion-ish. Okay, Thalia is definitely the worst case scenario here. JK. Darned if you do, darned if you don't. Doo-da, doo-da. We're actually going to steal one from humans? Maybe? Boo. Oh, General Kudrow. Okay, he's not particularly relevant here. He doesn't gain life when he triggers, does he? He does not, he just exiles. Okay. Boros Charm in style. This is a viewer, so I respect them playing humans. So humans is always a close matchup. I do feel they are favored overall, but it's always a close matchup. Always close. So ironically, you say that, War Dog, but there was talk in the Burn Discord in the initial stages of building Incinerator Burn of cutting Swiftspear or cutting Goblin God. I'm just like, I don't know, Foz. The last couple of days, it seems like once a stream. But before that, I really don't know. Yeah, like the last couple of days, it's felt like once a stream. But cut one for a shark volley. Next Surgeon, you really like that card, don't you? Oh, man. We should make, like, I should make, like, a burn list that's, like, when memes become dreams, Lightning Bolt Edition, and play, like, red-black, but, like, all the terrible cards. And just understand that if I win a match, my opponent should be ashamed. I mean, this hand's a keep, but it's not, like, amazing. Okay, so were you on the Discord, Watermelon Head? I was only able to follow like some of the discussion they were having. Like I think Poseidon and a few of them eventually decided that it was actually a mistake to cut it, but but if we're gonna play a meme deck, it would be all of those cards. It'd be like Thunderous Wrath and Shard Volley and Alms of the Vein and almost every major deck archetype has a Discord. Oh, looks like this is getting... I almost conceded. Wait, what? So we're up against Jeskai? I am completely confuzzled. Possible I shouldn't have played that land there, though. It does at least trigger landfall for Snapcaster Mage. Where's Janshevik when you need him? He was asking about Jeskai Stoneblade. Yeah, that's the thing, is like sometimes the Burn Discord, they don't say anything for like 12 or 24 hours, and then other times there's like dozens and dozens and dozens of messages in like 2 hours, and you're just like, hold on, what are they talking about? Yep, they are definitely Jeskai Stoneblade. Alright, Snappy McSnapson. Okay. I am aware that this is not the most efficient play. They make us wanna bolt, throw our hands up and bolt. Okay. Quella, Quella, Quella. Opponent's got a Quella, Quella, Quella. I love the deck, except the Fiery Islet. I feel like that could come back to bite them in an aggressive match or something. Do you have Force of Negation? Alright, you don't. Let's move on. So know their hand was Stoneforge, Feast and Famine, 2 unknowns? Yeah, if you're going to go that deep, War Dog, you definitely have to run Silver Smoot Ghoul or whatever it is. Jeskai Stoneblade presents a lot of problems. So... We know they got equipment, so we probably want smashes. We might want skull cracks. I don't think we want paths. It's like the problem is, like, how many smashes do you bring in against these Stoneforge decks, right? And what else do you cut here? Like, the blazes are reasonable, but they're not amazing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 fetch lands make blazes a little awkward against an instant speed deck. Just cutting random things, like multiple copies of Searing Blaze might not be good in this matchup. Riftbolt could get awkward with their Fairy potentially in their deck. Well, so is Smiting Helix. Like, there's a lot of terrible... Also, what's the card I'm thinking of? If you really wanted to screw with people, and this deck would be absolutely horrible, but you play Redless Burn. You play all the terrible black burn spells, including Collective Brutality. So you actually have to have a good cards in your deck. And then you play Psionic Blast. The mana efficiency of the deck would be terrible, and I don't think it would win many games, but Lord, it would be hilarious. You have a Path here? Path would actually be pretty good for how clunked up our hand is. Nope, we're just going to get in for a clean 3 damage. Okay. So what kind of hand did they keep? No bolt effects, no nothing. Okay, so I'm guessing a Spell Queller. Are you familiar with Char? I was going to say, it's the blue Char. You monster! We call it the OG Char. Char, Char, Char. Play a skewer to get a skewer. Put you back to 4. Holding the bolt in case they have Stoneforge. Blue black. I don't want to actually play red in my burn deck. Deck. Lyra Dawnbringer. Wow. Opponent with a go deep. With a 3/2 luck sack chest. So, once again, Burn feels really, really mediocre right now in the meta, especially the non-incinerator version of the deck. And then yeah, but we're playing red cards. I thought the objective was to not play red cards in this deck. Nah, I want to throw in Psionic Blast just to screw with them. As if the mono black spells aren't bad enough. But yeah, red feels really medium right now. Or burn feels really medium right now. I do think we want to go back to having Lurrus in our deck. Just for those kind of grindy, weird games that we get into. So, I'm going to run down a list for you guys, and I want you guys to guess the overall record with this. 1 match against Dredge, 1 match against Temur Delver, 3 matchups against Eldrazi Tron, 1 matchup against Jund Shadow, 2 matchups up against Red Prowess, 1 Blue-White Control, 1 Hardened Scales, 1 Blue-White Stoneblade, 1 Jund Midrange, 1 Grixis Thopter Sword, 1 Humans, and 1 Jeskai Stoneblade. Do you care to guess what the overall record in those 15 matches are? Now, for those of you that have watched the stream the last 3 nights and know this answer, you can't keep up. No. 8-7. We are 8-7 with a 22-19 game win percentage. So we've won 53% of our matches and 54% of our games. Talk about medium. I have a better win percentage in Legacy in my last 3 leagues. And I don't even play Legacy. Yeah, I've been streaming every night, man. My goal is to try to stream every night till New Year's Eve. I have a feeling I might end up taking New Year's Eve off. We'll see. Burn needs green. Oh, man. Okay. So, pretty reasonable sample size so far. I'm going to do at least one more night of based off this deck. I'm going to bring the Lurrus back in. I might tweak 1 or 2 other cards. I might even throw in a Thunderous Wrath for funsies. Maybe one of the other nights we'll run a Shard Volley just to continue tweaking lists a little bit. I'm kind of trying to operate with the Brad Nelson frame of mind, which is every time you run a deck, you change at least 1 card in it. Just to get some testing, so you're not stagnant. But, deck is reasonable, but once again, I do think the Incinerator version is superior in a lot of these matchups. But, yeah, definitely going to wrap a night. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out tonight. I appreciate everybody hanging out. Once again, if you're new to the thing, please consider giving us a follow so you know when we go live. If you have Twitch Prime and it's available, you could always use it on this channel. That'd be greatly appreciated. And once again, these videos are posted on our YouTube channel. Usually I've been delaying them by a day or 2, but they eventually get posted there. So, hope everybody has a great night. This has been John for MTG Nexus with our path to trying to become the Burn Master.